Hey everybody, it's your boy, Nathan Crash, and welcome to Nathan Crash Gets Bodied by the Internet, the internet's favorite show. And the basic gist of it is that I read scary stories from either Reddit or creepypasta websites or whatever, and I give them my thoughts and a 1 through 10 rating at the end of the story. If you have any stories that you think I'd enjoy or you want to see me review, go ahead and leave that in the comment section down below. You're more than welcome to join the discussion in the comment section. All you have to do is like and subscribe to the channel. That's basically it. And you can body the internet as well. Um, that being said, it's always a big plus if you subscribe to the channel. If you're already subscribed, why don't you check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/Nathan_Crash. I'm trying to become affiliate so I can basically do this full time. So all you need to do is follow me and just hang out in the chat so I can become affiliate, and if you really like me that much, you can donate and subscribe to the channel once I do become affiliate. It's greatly appreciated. So without further ado, we're gonna just dive right into this. This story is by user Scourge_R, and it was submitted about 5 hours ago. It's a relatively new story. Let's get right into it, okay? Wrong hotkey, my bad. Okay. I found my lost best friend after 3 years. I wish I didn't. Okay. Good title. Alright. My grandpa and I lived in a small neighborhood in downtown Denver, Colorado. My mom, dad, grandma, and grandpa are family dog and me. Our neighborhood was usually quiet and calm. Aside from a few teenagers occasionally getting drunk and causing trouble, we didn't have much ruckus in our small, monotonous lives. I grew up there and had a seemingly normal childhood. I met Ryan when I was 6. My mom used to take me to the playground on weekends. When I first saw him, I thought he was a fairly goofy kid. We were the same age and instantly formed a special bond. We went to the same elementary school, middle school, high school, and then, by conscious effort, same college in Louisiana. I decided to major in computer science while Ryan chose finance. Our college had a mandatory 1-year campus residence policy for freshmen. Of course, Ryan and I requested to be roomed together, but were denied. At least we were assigned to the same floor. When I first moved into the dorm and met my new roommate Greg, I thought he was a fairly cool guy. That's what you think about most people when you first meet them, until of course you get to know them. Unbeknownst to me, was that Greg was actually the most socially inept and awkward person I ever met in my life. I dreaded every day I had to live with that jerk, and my only solace was Ryan being close. Needless to say, we moved into an off-campus apartment the second year. That is when all these strange occurrences started happening. Up until this point, our lives had been mostly uneventful with occasional ups and downs. I was generally happy, performing well in grades, had a part-time job as a sales assistant in a retail store to help me with my tuition. And my relationship with my then girlfriend Jessica was getting pretty serious. Ryan, however, started acting strange. At first I chalked it up to the stress of change in our lives, but he acted more and more bizarre as time went by. One day I came home to find Ryan pacing up and down the living room. I asked if he's okay, to which he replied, Yeah, I was just thinking about something. Naturally, I got curious about what he was thinking, so I replied with, What exactly are you thinking about so feverishly? Alright. Whatever. He turned around and stared at me for a brief moment and went to his room. I got weirded out by this, of course, and didn't want to press it. Over the years, Ryan and I grew more and more distant. He spent most of his time locked up in his room doing God knows what. We talked less and less every day. After a while, I started to suspect that he stopped going to class too. Sometimes he didn't come home for days or even weeks, and never picked up my calls during these episodes. When he came back, it was usually at dead hours of the night, like 3 a.m. or something, carrying large piles of books and stacks of paper. None of the books had anything on their cover. He would always give vague answers to my questioning too. Whenever he wasn't home, he didn't come for days, and whenever he was, he never got out of his room. This went on for 2 years. Not home. One day, when he wasn't home, I decided to break into his room in hopes of finding what's up. I figured I would just break the lock on the old rusty door and have it repaired before he came back. No matter how hard I tried, the lock didn't break, and I had to break the door altogether. Holy Christ. The room was an absolute mess. with sheets of paper tossed around all across the room. Piles of large and small books blocking the entrance and window. Nothing on the papers or the books was legible. It was some kind of mysterious, made-up language with strange letters. Just when I was trying to gather my thoughts about the situation, the apartment door opened. It was Ryan. He did not have any books or papers with him this time. He immediately saw me in the room and rushed in. We gazed at each other in disbelief for a good minute until he says, "You need to return. It is time." And turned around, walked back to the apartment door, and left. That was the last time I saw Ryan for the next 3 years. Months went by. His family would call me every day in case there was a development in the search. For the first few weeks, I thought it was just another long episode of absence. It took me a good month, and the fact that his number was no longer in use, and that none of our common friends had heard of him before I filed a missing person report and notified his family back in Colorado. Police questioned me a billion times along with many people in our college. No avail. He was nowhere to be found, just vanished without a trace. Eventually, the search reports died down and I was tired as well. The stress of the whole situation took a toll on my relationship with Jessica and we broke up not long after. Fast forward to 2 years later. After I graduated, I took on a job offer, decided to move to Seattle and put all this behind. Start a new chapter in my life. As hard as that sounds, I got a new job as a programmer in a large company and got a new girlfriend named Emma. I started to slowly forget about the apartment in Louisiana, about the strange books and papers, about Ryan. That was until one night. One night I had the most vivid dream I had had in my life. I saw my old neighborhood back in times of childhood. Ryan and I had a little tree house, which I didn't remember up until now. But I saw it so vividly in my dream. It was filled with the same black-covered books and stacks of paper, all written with some bizarre text in the same weird language. I suddenly was inside the treehouse, on top of the book pile, and I fell into what seemed like an endless black void out of the treehouse. Then I heard Ryan's voice, so clearly saying, "You need to return. Time." Okay. I woke up in terror. It was 3:30. My girlfriend was fast asleep near me, and I got up to have a glass of water. I couldn't get my mind off the nightmare and Ryan's words. The same nightmare became more and more frequent as time went by, and I couldn't get proper sleep anymore. I started taking sleeping pills, which helped a little bit. One night, I had a call with no caller ID. I picked it up. "Hello?" No answer. All I heard was some nauseating static noise. I hung up the phone and went to bed, hopelessly waiting for sleep to come. Just like the nightmare, the phone calls started to happen more and more frequently as well. The second time, I hesitated to even pick up. It was the same call, same time of the night. Again, no caller ID. Again, endless, hypnotizing static noise. One night, I woke up after the same nightmare. I saw my phone buzzing near my feet. No caller ID. I picked it up, heard the same static noise. Instead of hanging up immediately, I decided to wait. After what felt like an eternity, the static ended. I heard a familiar voice. "Need to return. Time." My brain couldn't exactly put the pieces together. Was Ryan still alive? If so, then he was still a nut job. And worse is, he was a nut job who now stalked me. What he said was the same as what he said before he left. What did he mean by that? Where do I exactly need to return to? So many questions boggled my mind. I eventually decided not to think too much of it. If he is somewhere out there, he will surface eventually. If he doesn't, I can just stop caring about the calls. That would be it. I figured that the nightmares were also a product of my stress about the whole thing. And I decided to stop picking up calls without caller ID after that, and to see a therapist if nightmares persist. Months passed without an incident. My nightmares gradually faded, and I returned to my normal life. Things were finally looking up. I received a big promotion at work, and Emma and I started making plans for marriage. I started to feel happy and somehow in peace after all that time. That was until I received a strange mail one day. It was a piece of paper. contained some weird shapes and figures. After examining it a bit, I noticed that these shapes were similar to the ones on Ryan's strange books and papers. Just after I was done with them, I got a call from an unknown number. I picked it up. Hello? Oh, hi, Marcus. You probably don't remember me. Jessica. You don't remember, but it's me, Jessica. Strange. Her voice, it was her voice, alright. Why would she call me after all this time? Well, hi, Jessica. Well, hi. What do you want, Jessica? I just want to tell you that the answer is sometimes closer than you think. What? What are you talking about? You need to return. Time. Then she hung up. Ryan the sicko was now partners with my ex-girlfriend. All the more confusion to deal with. Ever since I received that mail, I started finding more of those papers around my house, my office, and even in my car. Someone was deliberately putting them there. I called the cops and gave a brief summary of the situation. Another investigation started. Ryan's family and other people he was close to were thoroughly questioned, and that included me too. Sometime during these events, I got a call from Ryan's mom. After a regular exchange of info on Ryan, her voice suddenly changed. She told me to return, in a way that seemed oddly familiar. I didn't ask any questions, just said goodbye and hung up the phone. I tried not to think about it too much. Days passed. I waited patiently for the cops to solve the mystery. Big mistake, I guess, because the investigation brought up nothing. There was absolutely no evidence about the papers, no camera footage, no fingerprints, nothing. They also failed to decrypt the contents of the papers. On top of it all, my nightmares returned during all of this to torment me. Same nightmare. Ryan was calling me, telling me to return to the treehouse. I needed to the old treehouse. Since the police couldn't do anything, it was up to me to find him and confront him. I thought about the treehouse for a while. Ryan and I built it together. We always used to play there, read comics, and just goof off after school. I guess my first girlfriend up there back in high school. Some of the fondest memories of my childhood was spending time there with my friends. I booked the next flight. I booked the flight the next day. Booked up the flight the next day. As I was packing up, Emma came and asked me what I was doing. I told her I was planning to make a short visit to my family back in Colorado. She just said okay and didn't ask any questions. Considering her inquisitive nature, that was fairly odd, but I brushed it off and went back to sleep. I was too tired to think about that. That night, for the first time in months, I had a different dream. It was the playground we used to play together. I saw Ryan, his 6-year-old self this time. At first the dream was an exact flashback of our first meeting, but then it changed. We slowly floated up to the sky. As the playground grew smaller and smaller, Ryan told me that he finished his task, and now it was up to me to continue what was necessary. I chose you because I trusted you the most. You were my best friend. I believe you can pass on the truth. And then I woke up to the sound of my alarm. Streets of my old neighborhood. It felt like a lifetime since I was last here. Everything was as dull, gray, and lifeless as it always had been. I guess I didn't notice it much as a child. My family was delighted to see me, and frankly, I was too. It put my mind a little bit at ease to see my mom and dad again during this whole ordeal. I spent the whole day in my childhood home with my parents. The next day I paid a visit to my grandparents' grave. I was reluctant, perhaps afraid, to do what I really came here to do. That night I woke up from another vivid dream. In the dream, we were in our college home. Ryan explained to me how he worked so hard to spread what he called the enlightenment to everyone around us. Me being the only exception, but now he fulfilled his duty and chose me to continue where he had left off. Need to take the books and study them to learn about the truth. I know it's confusing, but just keep trying to read them and you will understand in time, he said before disappearing into the void. I woke up in the middle of the night and had an incredible urge to just go there. I couldn't procrastinate. I had to visit the treehouse. Just when I was leaving, my parents both came down, asked me where I was going. I told them I just wanted some fresh air and they said, okay, and went back upstairs. Odd. Knowing them, I'd say they normally would ask more questions. It was a chilly night. Parked my car on the side of the road and entered the woods. Trudging through the darkness with a flashlight, I felt all kinds of feelings all at once, becoming more and more uneasy as I came closer to my destination. There it was, the treehouse. I had all kinds of voices in my head as I climbed up the creaky old wooden ladder. It was as if my soul was internally screaming. I reached the floor, got up, looked around, and sure enough, Ryan stockpiled loads of the strange black books and papers inside the treehouse. I turned the flashlight around and saw Ryan, hanging from the ceiling from his neck, with a thick rope covered in what looked like blood. It took me a while to snap out of the shock and come back to my senses. I continued to look around. In front of him was an old wooden table, a book placed on it with a bloody knife near it. The book, however, was different than the others. It had a bright red cover instead of pitch black. A small piece of paper was placed on it, a note. Read the book and you will know everything. It was the quickest nope of my life. I threw the book and rushed down, out of the treehouse. I ran past the dark woods back to my car, drove back to my house, went in the garage, got a can of gas and a bucket of water, and rushed back to the treehouse. Poured the gas inside and outside, and all around the crude structure. Fortunately, we built this thing in the part of the forest where the trees were more scarce. Though I was a little scared that the fire would spread to the trees, it did not hold me back from lighting up the matches and throwing them, burning the whole treehouse to the ground with everything in it, including Ryan's body. I was determined to finish this right there and then. The treehouse crumbled and crashed with a loud sound of wood snapping. Before I could catch my breath, it turned into a big pile of burnt rubble. I splashed water and dirt to silence the flames and took a moment to breathe. It was over. Ryan was dead, and whatever secrets he had in those books, which he wanted me to learn, was gone with him. A few minutes later, I got a call. I looked at the screen. No caller ID. Normally I wouldn't pick up, but this time curiosity got the better of me. Hello? A familiar voice spoke. Hello, Marcus. I have to say, I was honestly surprised and disappointed. Considering everything I've done to enlighten you, you received the gift and the sacrifice. So now you need to make a sacrifice to pay the price. You need to pay the consequence. Hung up. I thought about that conversation over and over. Who was that? Did Ryan have a partner? What were the consequences? It cluttered my mind for quite some time. Although, after a while, I forgot about it because nothing actually happened. More than a year has passed since that night. I greatly enjoyed the well-earned peace and quiet sense. Me and Emma were finally getting married. I felt a tornado of emotions during wedding day. It was a huge ceremony attended by a massive network of friends and family. After the wedding, we wanted to throw a party that night to celebrate. Just when we were having fun and guests were enjoying their drinks, I felt overwhelmed by the crowd and decided to go out into the yard and get some fresh air. After I got back inside, my eyes searched for Emma a little bit, but I couldn't see her. I asked her mom where she is, and she said, "Oh, Emma went to her room to grab something, dear. She will be back in a minute." I waited a lot longer than a minute before I finally decided to go up to check on her. I went upstairs to our room and knocked twice. "Emma, are you in there?" No answer, even though the lights were on. I waited a little longer and decided to just go in. I opened the door to see my wife hanging from the ceiling from her neck, with a thick rope covered in blood. A note was attached to her dress which said, "Now the price is paid." I mean, like, I don't know, dude. That one's kind of rough, dude. Scourge R, I mean, like, you had, like, a lot of, like, intrigue, but, like, there wasn't enough information. It was like a decent story. It was long. I think the thing is, like, I think I'm more upset of the fact that it was, like, really detailed and long, and a lot of those details don't really kind of matter in the grand scheme of things. Like, yeah, because, like, we have no idea what's actually going on. Like, it'd be one thing if we knew why a sacrifice was necessary and why, like, the fact that his wife dies on their wedding day is, like, that's supposed to be huge, but it's like, okay, like, we kind of get it, like, because it ends in, like, oh, you gotta pay the consequences or whatever, you gotta pay the price. and like he's just like, oh, whatever. Like, I don't know. I guess it's like it's a little too heavy-handed for my taste, but I don't know. I'm gonna give this one like I'll give this one like a 5.5. Like, you know, because it wasn't a terrible story. It just didn't have like it didn't have the payoff that I I wanted it to. Like, I was really interested in like like what was actually going, like I don't know what was going on with Ryan. Like what truth did Ryan know? It's like, and like usually I don't like stories like this where it's like there's like this mysticality to it. Like, I'm usually not a huge fan of that. Like, but like I don't know, I at least wanted some answers. Like, because the thing is like there's not even like it's not even really open to interpretation, because there's not like it's just so broad. I mean, you could assume it's open to interpretation because you're given literally no, like, no, I don't know, there's just no supplementary evidence, or like there's nothing to go off of. You know, you could literally just say anything and it's like, maybe that's right. You know, but there's not like evidence to go off of. There's not like anything to really build a theory around, and like that's kind of the thing that bums me out. Is like, if you're gonna end it like that, like, at least have it, like, I don't know. Yeah, that was rough. I don't know. Yeah, I just wanted it to have like some, at least something, like some threads to dangle. But it was just like the one thing we got is that Ryan was reading these weird books and he was talking about having the return, and like we don't know why homeboy has to even be involved, because I thought it was just a thing between just Ryan. So like there's this other person that we don't know who's pulling the strings in the background. So like maybe this is part of like a series, or maybe this is like the beginning of like a series. Maybe there'll be another story, but like as it stands, like, yeah, it's a 5.5. It's a 5. It's a 5 because it just doesn't have anything, like, you know, it just has like the annoying caller, you know, and like the person leaving papers and stuff. But like, again, it doesn't amount to anything, and I don't know. The payoff just was kind of weak in my opinion. But you know, you guys are allowed to have a different opinion. That's all on you. I'm not gonna wring your neck for having a different opinion than me. You guys are more than entitled to have a discussion with me. Maybe you can change my mind about it, like if I missed something. Well, leave that in the comment section down below. But that's gonna do it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed my reading and very brief first impression of I found my lost best friend after 3 years. I wish I did. It was an interesting experience, and I would like to thank the author yet again. You can check out his stuff. It's gonna be in the description down below. You can read the story if you want to. You can comb through it. You know, that's at your discretion. I'm not gonna discourage you from doing that. I don't wholly hate this story. But as mentioned previously, if you enjoyed my content, subscribe and like the video. You know, that stuff helps out like crazy, and leaving comments and stuff also helps out a ton. So if you do that, thank you. If you've already done that and you're an awesome person, follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Nathan_Crash, because I'm gonna be doing this live, and I'd like to have like a small audience. So tell your friends, tell your mom, dad, whoever, to follow me on Twitch, and subscribe to me on YouTube. If there's any stories you'd like to have me read, or any video games you'd like to have me play, you can also leave that in the comment section, or you can reach out to me on Twitter at itsnathan_crash, and we can have discussions there. If you'd rather not talk in the comment section, you want a little more personal engagement, I guess that's an avenue. I don't check Twitter as often, but like, you know, I'll make an effort to do so. But that's gonna do it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I don't know, just have a wonderful night, day, whatever it is, wherever you are. Just have a good one, and try not to get bodied, you know, because I definitely feel like I might have got bodied on this one. This one was kind of rough, and this was a long story. So, and like, my apologies that I was stumbling a lot. I just had like, I haven't had any water to drink, so my mouth's kind of dry, and I didn't think the story was gonna be that long. But yeah, I'll see you guys on the next episode. I hope you continue to show the support that you guys have been showing. It means a ton to me, and I'm so grateful for you guys. You guys are a fantastic audience, and I'm glad that I have such a nice group of people supporting and basically just interacting with my content. So I'll see you guys on the next one. You guys be safe out there, and don't get don't make friends with people who are crazy and will burn down, hang themselves in a treehouse and try to get you into some weird eldritch horror stuff. I don't know what the deal with this story was. Point is, just be safe out there, guys. Don't get bodied, and hang out with me sometime on Twitch, or you know, chat with me in the comment section, because I like you guys. You guys are pretty cool. All right, bye bye.